Hello, welcome to my channel, another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and last month I finished my 100 book challenge, where I had challenged myself to read 100 books that I already owned before buying another book. And since I finished that challenge, I have been buying and acquiring new books. Yes, the book hauls are back, and I'm going to be in trouble. So, what kind of books have I been getting myself? Let's start with the free books. From a little free library, Bret Easton Ellis, The Shards. MJ at Reading This Life really liked this book. It was nominated for the BookTube Prize in Fiction. It, however, did not pass the octo final rounds. So I picked it up thinking I might get this book to be judged. But since I'm not going to be judging it, I just may return it to the little free library for someone else, because I did not really enjoy his book, American Psycho. But this book looks brand new and unread. Maybe I'll keep it anyway. The Best American Short Stories of the Century, edited by John Updike. I am doing a challenge where I'm going to be reading 20 of the greatest short stories of the 20th century, and a few of them that I did not own are in here. So this is a really good pickup for free. Now, this was from the public library. My public library occasionally has book sales where they sell books for 2 weeks, and the books that fail to sell after 2 weeks get put out for free. And I snagged it. Good snag for me. Also from that library free sale, 24 Hours by Greg Iles. I would much rather read his Not Just Burning trilogy, but this is a free book and it's a thriller. Why not? Now some books that I picked up at thrift stores. These books are 50 cents each. So you'll see that I'm a big spender at the thrift store. The Lonely Lady by Harold Robbins. This is cheesy sleaze back in the day when Harold Robbins was a major author. And he once was a major author, and it was in 1976. Looks super sleazy and cheesy, and only cost me 50 cents. Jack Higgins, Night of the Fox. This is World War II fiction of some sort. We got a Nazi on the front, and this book was published in 1986. Rather kind of late for World War II fiction, but Jack Higgins is a good thriller author. I read his The Eagles Have Landed, or something like that. Pretty good. Now I'm showing the spine of this. This is John D. MacDonald's The Executioners. This is a really great thriller mystery that I read once before, and I unhauled my copy because I'm an idiot and not hauling sometimes. So I kind of want to reread this. And 50 cents. Now, unfortunately, there's a problem with this book. It has a movie cover called Cape Fear. It has nothing to do with the text inside the book. It's a good old thriller mystery book. It's really called The Executioners. It's not called Cape Fear. And the last of my 50-cent pickups was The Mysterious Mr. Quinn by Agatha Christie. I'm supposed to be reading an Agatha Christie book in April. I don't think I'm going to get around to reading Agatha Christie. But for 50 cents, how could I refuse? I've never really heard of this Agatha Christie book before. I have no idea if it's good or bad. And I did go shopping at a used bookstore. I took an afternoon off. Well, retired, so all afternoons are off. But I took an afternoon to drive up closer to Washington, D.C., where all the good used bookstores are. And it really was not a very exciting pickup. I got a few good things. This is the best. This is Night Shift by Stephen King. This is his first collection of short stories. I do own the Kindle copy, but this is a great used original paperback from the 70s or early 80s. It only cost me $2.24. Now, just wait for this. This is what everybody wants to see. Step back cover. $2.24. How could I say no? Firestarter by Stephen King. I would probably prefer to read this as Kindle, but this again is a vintage paperback. This paperback, I don't think, has ever been read. And this is, again, from 1980, maybe 81, because this is a paperback, but still, great vintage paperback. I paid a whopping $2.99 for this book. Why not? I have a lot of Ed McBain's 87th Precinct novels, but this was what $2.99, maybe $3. King's Ransom. I didn't have this one. I'll just stick it on my shelf of other 87th Precinct novels, and maybe I'll get to it. It is, well, not super vintage paperback. It's still a very nice old paperback. This one is from the 1968, and it has these lovely green spine covers they used to do. I wish publishers returned to that. Simeon, the Magritte series. Peter, the Latvian. The first in the series. I have read one of the series many years ago. It is Magritte and the Yellow Dog. I don't remember anything. I don't think I was ready for it back then, but hell, first in the series. This was more expensive. This was $5. And the used bookstore had a whole lot of them in the series. I only picked up one. Maybe I should have picked up more. But they are available electronically from the library. So maybe if I like this, I'll just read my library copies on my Kindle. And now some books that I ordered from ThriftBooks. One of these was inspired by my banned book challenge, even though I don't think it is technically banned. This is an author, and who is the Robert Sewell. He wrote a pornographic novel published in the 50s that I read late in the 90s, and I thought it was pretty good for a pornographic novel written in the 50s, and that was The Devil's Advocate. It is about a DA in Los Angeles who is basically showing a lady around the seedier side of Los Angeles, where everyone is engaging in pornographic activity. And not only does it come with this book, it comes with a second book. It's called White Stains. And it's one of these flip books where the book ends here, and then you have to flip it over to read the other book. It was like $9 on ThriftBooks, and I had gotten rid of my original copy of The Devil's Advocate like an idiot. So I re-got this to maybe read. Sooner or later, there's going to be an event that is not technically banned, because I don't think anyone even bothered to ban this book, even though it is way more graphic and obscene than some of the obscene books that I have been reading for my banned book challenge. So somewhere there's going to be an erotica event, and I've got myself a book to read. More books that I bought. I just finished reading From Hell by Alan Moore last week. That was a graphic novel about Jack the Ripper. And it got me interested in other Jack the Ripper books. So I went on a little bit of a Jack the Ripper spree. The West End Horror. and this is Nicholas Mayer. I read The 7% Solution by this author last September, November? No, February, when we did Homes is Where the Heart Is. I read this in February, this author's 7% Solution. So this is a continuation of his pastiche, and this is Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper. I also got The Whitechapel Horrors, and this is by Edward B. Hanna, and this is a Sherlock Holmes novel, also featuring Jack the Ripper. If we do Homes Where the Heart Is again in pastiche, I might try to read these two books just to see how two different authors match up Holmes versus Jack the Ripper. This one is much larger. This is almost 400 pages. And this is a very doable 176 pages. I'm not done with Jack the Ripper. The Women of Whitechapel and Jack the Ripper by Paul West. Paul West was once a very critically acclaimed American author. He never really made it a big time. He was sort of buddies with William Styron, that author of Sophie's Choice. And this is his historical take on Jack the Ripper. I know I read this in the 80s. I kind of remember his take on Jack the Ripper and who he thinks Jack the Ripper was. Very different from Alan Moore, but I picked this up used to read again because when I read From Hell, it's got me on this Jack the Ripper phase. And lastly, because I am a co-host with the Kurt Vonnegut Reading Group, and we are reading Cat's Cradle in April, I picked up this. This is the Vonnegut Encyclopedia by Mark Leeds. This is all sorts of critical and information about Jack the Ripper and all sorts of things that he mentions in his novels. This was, again, only $9, and I think that's a very good price. It's actually a very good copy. It said good copy on ThriftBooks, and I think this is close to being like new or very good. This one was listed as very good, and it looks unread, but it feels shabby and old. You can see that the ends are just sort of like faded out. Anyway, that is my book haul. Thank you for watching, and keep on reading.